Unit 4, Formative 1, Day 2, Scientific Notation. Today all we're going to do is convert between normal numbers or standard notation to scientific notation. Okay. Now scientific notation, remember, is like 4.3 times 10 to the 4th, or 7.2 times 10 to the negative 8th. Scientific notation is when you multiply by 10 as an exponent. A couple things about scientific notation. This number here, okay, has to be less than 10. Okay. How I look at it is you have to have a decimal, okay, after the first number. Okay, so I can't write scientific notation like this, okay, because I have 11 in front of my decimal. Well, this number needs to be less than 10, so I would need to move my decimal over one more time. All right, so this one is in scientific notation because this number is less than 10. Okay, so the first number always has to be less than 10. Okay, let's look at some problems. All right, so I have 7,400,000. Right now, my decimal is right here. Okay. I want my decimal after the first number because I want it to be less than 10. So I want my decimal there, which would give me 7.4, which is less than 10, times 10. Okay, now I just need to count. It's nice when they use commas. That's 3, 6. I moved it over 6 times. So 7,400,000 is 7.4 times 10 to the 6th power in scientific notation. Okay. Next one. Here's my decimal here. All right. I want it between the 9 and the 3 because I want my number to be less than 10. So I have 9.3 times 10. Now I need to count how many times I'm going to move it because I want my decimal right there. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I moved it 5, but I moved it to the right, so that's a negative 5. Also think that the small numbers where you have a leading decimal there, it's always going to be a negative exponent. Okay, like this one where you have a leading decimal there, this one's going to have a negative exponent. This one is not. Okay, all right, let's look at this one, 8,600. My decimal is at the end, okay, and I want it between the 8 and the 6. Again, that number is less than 10. So we have 8.6 times 10, and I'm going to move it over 1, 2, 3 times. Scientific notation. All right. This one, I want my decimal between the 2 and the 1. So I have 2.14 times 10. Okay, and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, and I moved it to the right, so it's negative. All right. Let's look at going the other way. All right, so on this one, I have scientific notation. I want to put it in standard notation. Okay, which is no times 10. So I have 6.3, and I'm going to move my decimal 8 times. Okay, this needs to go to the right. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to put zeros. Okay, now this is not how we write our final number, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it with my commas. And there's my answer, 630 million. All right. Let's do this one. Okay, this is a negative exponent, so my decimal is going to go to the left. So I have 7.2, and I'm moving my decimal 3 times to the left. 1, 2, 3. So that puts 2 zeros. Okay, and there's my answer. All right, next one. 4.139 times 10 to the 6th, so this one's going to go 6 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to put my zeros in my loops, rewrite it, and add my commas. And last one, I have 8.4, and it's a negative exponent, so I'm going to move to the left. 1, 2, 7. There you go. All right, last slide. Now this one we need to make sure these are in scientific notation. The first one, if I look at this, is this number less than 10? It is not, so it's not in scientific notation. So I need to move my decimal over 1 time. Okay, when I move my decimal over one time, so we get 7.52, I need to change my exponent here, okay? Because this tells, again, 10 to the 4th. This exponent tells you how many times you're going to move your decimal, okay? Now here, there's a couple ways to look at it. This is how I look at it. I almost look at it like a balance, okay? Now, I went from 75.2 to 7.52, so my number got smaller, okay? In order to balance it out, this needs to get bigger. Okay, this number got smaller, so this needs to get bigger. I moved my decimal one time, so I'm going to add 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. All right, so let's look at this one. Okay. This number is not less than 10, so I need to move my decimal over one time. So now I have 8.3 times 10. Now this number, okay, got bigger. So this number is going to get smaller by how many times you moved your decimal. I moved it over one time, so it is going to get smaller by 1. So that would be 8. Next one. Number, this is not less than 10, so I need to move my decimal over. So I have 6.042 times 10. Now, I moved it over 2 times, so this went from 600 to 6. So this number got smaller, which means this number is going to get bigger. I moved my decimal over 2 times, so it is going to get bigger by 2. -3 plus 2 is -1. All right, last one. This number is not less than 10, or between 1 and 10. I guess it is less than 10, but it has to be between 1 and 10. All right, so I need to move my decimal over. I'm going to move it over one time, so I have 4.2 times 10. Now this number got larger. Okay, so this number is going to get smaller by how many times I move my decimal. And I move my decimal over one time, so it's going to get smaller by 1, which gives me -4. All right, that's it. Scientific notation should all be a review.